Morning, it's Martin from Martin's Engine Services. Just making a little video on this beautiful Monday morning. So it's bright but quite chilly. Seems to have turned very autumnal, that's better. Autumnal in the last few mornings and evenings. So it's a beautiful bright morning, but quite a bit of a chill to the air. Oh, Project Peugeot's still out there. We'll be coming back to that later. Anyhow, I got on Saturday, or Friday evening Saturday, and I finished off the stock car engine, which has gone back now and is in the car and is all up and running again. So that engine I was building there was actually going to be the spare. So I've started doing today, or yesterday as well, is cleaning up the spares we've got to build a spare engine. The engine that was in use that suffered the head gasket failure with those damn head bolts is sitting over here. That does now need a rebore, so we're probably going to put that block to one side. They do have several other engines spare. I've got a couple of straight out of road car units, and this one here is actually a spare they picked up a few years ago. It's been robbed for many parts and whatnot. So what I'm actually doing is I'm having a grand sort out of all the bits we've got left over, and all the parts that we may use that are good are going to be bolted onto that unit. The block on the stand was actually another engine which we'd stripped quite a few parts off over the years, but the block's fine. It had a head on which we Z-type head we don't really need. So excuse me, we got I thought, right, I'll strip that block out, give it a thorough clean out inside. It's come up nice and clean. Just got carried away with the paint there, possibly another show and shine. It's honed out well, hardly any marks in the bores. Got a good set of pistons and rods out of it. Got a choice of a couple of crankshafts. So there's one over there. There's a crankshaft over here, which I've polished. It has got a few marks in it, but it's not hideous. It's the best of the two. The pistons all cleaned up, bearing caps. So I've got all the components to actually build a complete bottom end, and we're having a cylinder head skimmed at the moment, the one that off of the engine that had the head gasket failure. Got all the components from that, so we can actually build, for the want of a few gaskets and a set of piston rings and a couple of bits and pieces, a complete engine. And that uses up some of the parts from stock. So we'll have a complete spare engine here, and the one over there will be a complete spare with everything on that we need. And there'll be a few components that will be discarded. I know this all sounds confusing, but I think I've got the general idea of what bits are going where, possibly, I hope-ish. So that's what I've been up to. Got a couple of jobs coming in today, and one of them I'll be finishing tomorrow. So that'll keep me occupied. That'll be that. Now, I've had a few inquiries from people about these stock car engines and asking what goes into them, what they do, what they race in and whatnot. So I thought I'd give you a brief rundown of what happens. The formula itself is called 1300 stock rods, and it's an ORCI formula, or Oval Racing Council International or something like that. We just know it as ORCI. They are part of all the sort of short oval racing in the UK. There's a lot of other promoters, but they tend all to run under the ORC banner, or rule, should we say. So basically this formula has been around for many years, and originally was a 1300, and then they've upgraded to 1400s. They're heavily ironed up cars and are a full contact formula. And when I mean full contact, I mean full contact. So they are going through it. Most of the cars in use are Vauxhall GM products. It used to be like Corsa Novas, Corsa A's, but it's mostly now Corsa B's, C's, D's, E's, Adams, Tigras, etc. There are a few other guys I know from the local tracks running. I think there's a couple of Fiestas, a Honda, maybe a couple of Hondas and a few other bits and pieces, but most of them are Vauxhall derived. Basically because the engines are robust and tunable. Everybody seems to know how to set them up reasonably well, and the gearboxes are another bonus on these, because it's very easy to change the gear ratios. So you can simply pull the gear cluster out the end of the gearbox in a matter of minutes and swap the ratios. You even got time to do it between races. Whereas with all the other manufacturers, you've got to change the gearbox. Now, as these race on a variety of tracks, some are tarmac, some are shale. There's some very long tracks. I mean, Kings Lynn, for example, is a long track. Ipswich is a very long track, but someone like Mildenhall is a very short track. So obviously the gearing has to be tailored to get the optimum performance. Because every little tiny bit counts in this formula because it's very tightly controlled. The engines are all running very similar power outputs, and the cars have to be a minimum weight. So there's every little bit helps basically. The term stock applies to these engines very, very literally. They have to be rebuilt using only original parts or pattern aftermarket parts. You can't fit any fancied trick components. For example, you could put ARP racing head studs into these engines with using nuts and washers and get rid of the bolts, but that's not permitted. All internal engine components must be as produced. We go like pistons, connecting rods must remain standard weights, crankshafts, etc., etc. You can overbore them now to 1 mil. That's about it. Flywheels must remain standard weights. There are a variety of different flywheels from different years and applications, but they have a list of them and they will take them off and check them. Camshafts must be standard, valve sizes, no polishing of the ports, no removing any metal, no matching the ports to the heads, etc. All timing marks must be as standard, timing belts, pulleys, tensioners, everything must be stock. The inlet manifolds are, however, free because being a fuel injected engine, they all have to now run the Weber carburetor, which is standard across all engines. These GM engines or Vauxhall units do have to run a restrictor plate under the carburetor, the strictly controlled size of two 20mm holes in this plate. This is to keep the performance levels equal. And this will be checked and has to be spot on. So the inlet manifolds are free, but there is a company that actually makes an inlet manifold that bolts onto these engines. There is a slight variation, as I mentioned before, in the intake ports where the manifold matches, but that one does fit all of them, but you don't get a perfect sort of alignment of the ports, but that has to be kept as is. Same as exhaust manifolds, you can use the standard twin downpipe version from the earlier engine without the catalytic converter on it. But again, no matching, no fettling, no grinding, no polishing. And they will check the casting numbers, they will check these things. Most of any of these components found to be illegal will result in an instant ban. So no messing. On the ignition front, you use a standard crankshaft sensor or block type, internal, external. Standard, well, any coil pack can be used, and you just get a little box, basically a little two-dimensional ignition control box or mapping box, and you can just adjust the timing to suit. So that's it. So the timing is adjustable, carburetor is adjustable. You can do the jets in the carburetor and then mess around with the fueling, but no other modification permitted inside the carburetor. They will check these, and after get it in the right order, Martin. After most major races and championship races, top three or etc. will have some sort of checks carried out. Before each of these major meetings, all the engines are sealed. They put paint spots on carb mount bolts and head bolts and sump bolts. So if you have to do any work on the engine, you have to get it rechecked. So they will check for this. So there's quite a strict control on it. And quite obviously, if somebody has, there's sort of like 20 Vauxhalls with the same engine all going up the straight, and one of them accelerates away from the pack at an alarming rate, then you think, hello, that one can't be right. I did get somebody asking about how much brake horsepower I get on one of these engines. It's sort of not exactly top secret, but we don't tend to pass that information on. So we safely say that it's adequate. They all vary a bit depending on the weather and, say, temperature conditions and whatnot when you get them tuned up, but we've always obtained pretty good results. Upper end RPM on these is kind of set by, you can set that on the ECU, depends what you want to run them to. So some people run them to like 7.5, some run to 8, some run to 8.250. So it's kind of where you want to set them at. As I say, most of these have been revved north of 8, so quite an impressive little unit, really. There's a huge following for this formula, and I say it's very, very popular because, I mean, say they do get stuck in, and boy, these things do get wrecked. Ironwork gets bent, and suspension parts likewise. This is one of those formulas. There's also the 2 litre class, the 2 litre saloon stock cars, and they are even more brutal, as you can imagine. So when you go to the track, you go armed with your welder, some box section, several sets of suspension, wheels, tyres, etc., etc. They all have to run a controlled tyre as well, so there's no cheating on the gearing sides with different size tyres. There's one standard tyre fits all basically, so it's well controlled. So I hope that answers a few questions about the term stock. So, I mean, obviously there's a lot of parts you couldn't get from GM anymore, so you get the gaskets. All the gaskets you buy commercially from the motor factors are considered fine, same as the piston rings, bearings. They're just aftermarket equivalent too. So, see, that's all painted up and it'll be drying nicely, and I can get more some assembly when I've done my 2 little jobs. So if you see it the last few days, the whole of this was just one massive GM parts, and there was piles of bits everywhere, and got a right old state, but mission accomplished so far. So I'll leave you with that little video, and fantastic news this morning, 101 subscribers. So yes, I've made the 100. I'm absolutely delighted with that. It's a fantastic result. It got to 99 yesterday morning. I was like, yes, a couple more. So thank you. Anybody subscribed recently or in the past, thank you so much. It means so much to me to think there's 101 people following my little channel. It truly is quite humbling. So thanks very much again, and say please like and subscribe. Bye for now.